Hey everyone, welcome to another installment of Color Mixing with Chris. In this episode, we are going to show you how to pull off an effect that we're calling murdered candy. It's 3 easy steps, and one of those steps is the application of a Hot Rod Sparkle color. In this case, I'm using Hot Rod Sparkle Red. We want 4 really good coats to really get the maximum effect and get the maximum depth in that color. So we'll show you guys what that looks like. This is coat number 2. I'm going to see you guys in a little bit on coat number 4, so stay tuned. Alright, welcome back. That is coat number 4. So you can see the premise of this is really getting that coverage of the Hot Rod Sparkle. You really want that full effect. So we're going to go on to step 2. But first I want to just touch on what it is that we're doing. It's got to be over black. So waterborne sealer or any real dark black base coat or semi-opaque black would work too. But it's got to be over black to get that maximum look. Works with a Hot Rod Sparkle color, Hot Rod Sparkle Blue, or our Cosmic Sparkle color, Cosmic Sparkle Gold. So, and it's the same thing. With that, we want maximum coverage. So between 3 or 4 coats, we really want to have full saturation with that flake. The only difference in what I'm going to do now is, if you're familiar with the Hot Rod Sparkle at all, our Hot Rod Sparkle Red is a little more magenta. It kind of has a pink hue to it. It's really not like deep red. So what I'm going to do in this video to show you is I'm actually going to mix a little bit of our Candy 2.0, our Blood Red, and do a coat, kind of a mid coat, over this flake to really intensify that red flake. I don't know if it shows up on camera, but I mean it's fully covered. It's got a lot of glitter to it, but I just want a little more richness in that color. So you could really do that with any of the other colors, but the one that we really want to show you is the Hot Rod Sparkle Red with this Blood Red. So I have my Blood Red 4:1, so it's 4 parts 40-50 to 1 part Candy 2.0. I'm going to get it in my gun, and you guys can see what that's going to look like. What I'm looking to do here too is just a medium coat. I'm not trying to really saturate it, so I'm probably just going to do one nice even coat, and that's going to be just enough to push it toward that real red, rich side of color. I'm going to call that done. That's it. That's all I was trying to do. And again, I don't know if it shows up really well on camera, but you can see it just kind of pushed that flake a little more to the red side. So you could probably do that with some of the other colors, just keeping in mind that adding the candy to those Hot Rods or the Cosmics sometimes might push them a little darker than what you're trying to achieve for an effect. Keeping in mind, I already know what the last step of this is going to be, so I kind of know that sometimes the effect that you're going after is going to be better if it's a little bit brighter than if it's darker, because what we're going to do to get that murdered, that blacked out look, is to add a coat, 2 coats of our Candy Black. So what we're going to do is put it on, kind of like that first coat just went on. It's going to be a very medium coat, 2 coats, just enough till you start to see the tank, or in this case the tank, or whatever substrate you have, start to disappear. It should almost go just to black, but you're like right on the cusp of going too much or too little. So it's better to work in medium coats. I like 2 medium coats of black, and it's really not going to look like anything until you get the clear on there to get that full effect. But you just got to be real careful. It's 2 coats of black, and then what it's going to do is mask that flake, which is why I said if you added candy to that flake, you might not necessarily want to do that, because it might be a little little too dark that the black kind of cancels that effect. So we're going to let this dry up. I'm going to mix my candy black. It's going to be the same way. It's going to be 4 parts 40-50 clear to 1 part candy black. So you guys will see what that looks like. All right, guys, we are back for our third and final step. This is the most crucial, critical, important step in getting this effect. Our blood red is dry, and now I mixed up my candy black 4-to-1, same way I did the blood red, and now we're going to put on 2 medium coats. And again, depending on how you're spraying or your equipment that you're using, if it's a bigger gun, smaller gun, all you're trying to do is kind of just fade out or fog out this color. You want to stop once you think it looks black. So otherwise what will happen is you put too much material on it, it just cancels out the color that you're trying to allow it to see. What you want to do is just make sure this looks black until the light hits it. A thing that I found helpful is for this particular application, I have my Luma light, so you can see exactly where you are. And it helps. If you don't have one of these, you can use just a regular light. You know, we also have our color match lights. This works just as well. Just kind of hold it as you're going. It's cheap insurance to making sure that you have nice even coverage before you go to that step. Maybe that next coat isn't even necessary depending on how you're putting it on. But I like 2 coats. They're going to be medium coats. They're a lot drier than the way I spray my candy. Because again, like I said, this is the most critical step. You just want to black out your panel. So I'm going to spray. You guys can see what this looks like. So now you can see the black over the red. It's already starting to cancel out this red a little bit. The tank looks pretty black. That's kind of what you're after. So what I'm going to do is just kind of let this dry up a little bit and make sure that I'm happy with my coverage. Again, you can see how thin that is, but that's from there to here. That's all you're trying to do is just kind of wash out that red color on your face cast. But when you see this in the sun, anywhere that's highlighted or anywhere that you have a curvature, it's gonna light up with this red underneath. It's a really, really cool kind of smoked out murdered candy effect. So we're gonna let this dry up for a minute. I'm gonna do my second coat. Again, that's the beauty part of working lighter like this too, is it dries pretty fast. That's already almost tack free, so. My second coat's going to be the same way. It's going to be really light, and I'm going to walk away from it. That's it. It's done. So we're going to get this, let it dry. We're going to get some clear on here. We'll put these outside so you guys can see what they look like. Hey everyone, welcome back. We're in the booth. Our panels are all cleared. We're going to just do a quick recap on the colors here so you guys can see. This is the tank that we started on the project. This is the Hot Rod Sparkle Red. This is Hot Rod Sparkle Blue. It's the same procedure. It was the same effect with the Hot Rod Sparkle. And this is our Cosmic Gold with the murdered candy over. Now it might not pick up. I don't know how well it's going to look on camera. It's definitely more of a subtle color shift. It's not as pronounced as the flake, but that's just because of the size of the pearl. But it really gives you a nice, elegant, softer effect. So it's something you guys can try too. We're going to recap on the steps. Step 1, it's got to be over black. So that's the most critical, a nice solid black base. 2 is the application of the Hot Rod Sparkle or the Cosmic Sparkle. So you got to make sure you got at least 4 coats on. A little more is better. You really want full coverage for that maximum effect to show through. And then going back to the last step, which was the application of the Candy Black. And that was like 2 coats. I mixed that 4-to-1. All we're trying to do is put a black tint coat. over the top of whatever project that you're doing. So it's pretty critical, because it's very easy to go a little too far and then you'll wash out the color that you're trying to achieve. So do a coat, really let it dry, take a look at it with your gun, sunlight if you have it, or a flashlight, whatever. It's really critical. It's easier to just maybe drop another coat on than it is to take it off, because if you start muting that, it's not going to come back. So the fourth step that you could do is what we did, if you remember, on this Hot Rod Sparkle Red, we added a mid coat of Candy 2.0, the blood red, just to kick that flake up a little bit in terms of the color saturation, make it a little more red. You can do that with any of the candies, with any of the flakes. The only reason I did it on this was just because, if you remember, I said that flake has a little bit of magenta tone to it, so we wanted to kick it up. You could do it with any of the colors. You could do it with the Cosmics. You can mix any of our Candy 2.0s over that, and you can play around. You can get some really cool effects. So I think that about wraps it up for our murdered candy. I hope you guys thought this was a cool video, and we'll see you next time.